I'm the one that may not ever see that. They got something in front of me.
While we wait to get started, I wanted to make an observation because on yesterday I received a text about a picture missing of a board from the wall behind me. Fortunately, I think Mr. Graydon Hammond and others found the picture and reassembled it and returned it to its place. So I'm hoping that the person who texted me is watching this morning on Skype or whatever medium stream, and they'll be able to note that the former chair, Ms. Bridget Denbo, picture has been returned to the appropriate spot, and that it has not been taken by anyone. Apparently, they were trying to make a copy of it so they could send her a copy of the picture. So noted. Pardon? Take the picture.
Yeah.
Okay.
Here's another complaint I think you may want to deal with. Someone was calling me asking about the picture up there, and they thought it was Denzel Washington, the one up there to the right. And they want to put a disclaimer.
Okay, we see 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 9. Okay.
I'm gonna sit on that side.
Yeah, they
Don't have a 9 votes here.
Yeah, that's what I close enough. Well, if we can get started, I'd like to ask the son of a preacher to lead this invocation. Mr. Lawson, would you mind?
glad. If Father, we come giving you the honor, we come giving you the glory. We come and asking you for the wisdom, the courage to do what's right and what's proper to move this system forward. We pray for our president, we pray for our faculty, our staff, and certainly our students. We ask these other blessings in your son, Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Why you didn't ask Mr. McKee to pray?
I was trying to get the proper line of order. And now I'd like to turn over the gavel to Ms. Ann Smith, Chairman of the Academic Affairs Committee, to conduct our business. Ms. Smith.
Thank you. Good morning. And Academic Affairs Committee meeting is now called to order. We've had the invitation and I'm ready for roll call.
Yes. Mrs. Smith,
Present.
Dr. Gaines,
Present.
Attorney Clayton,
Here.
Reverend Gant, Mrs. Small, Dr. Whitfield, Dr. Tarver,
Here.
we have a quorum, ma'am.
Thank you. Do we have any public comments? None. We'll move to action items. A.
We did do adoption of the agenda.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Adoption.
It's been moved
Second.
and second that the agenda for today is adopted. Action items. Approval of early law school admission program 3+3 between the Southern University Law Center and the Nelson Mandela College of Government and Social Sciences. Chancellor.
Yes, ma'am. Good morning,
Morning.
members of the board. This proposal or we're requesting for approval, since there has been a reorganization within the Southern University Baton Rouge campus as it relates to the various colleges, and we have already a 3+3, but it's not as well defined. We began working on this with Dr. Samuels and others with the Baton Rouge campus to have a better defined 3+3 program between the Southern University Law Center and the Nelson Mandela School of Government and Social Sciences that essentially allows a student who majors in political science on the front end know that if they want to take advantage of this particular opportunity, the program is structured that all of their required courses are done in the first 3 years of their matriculation, and that in essentially what would be the 4th year of their matriculation, they would only have to do what are basically elective courses if they were in this particular program, and that if they were successful into getting admitted into the law center based upon the criteria we established for admission for these early admittees. Then the first year of law school courses would satisfy the essential electives that they would have taken at the undergraduate level so that they could pursue getting a bachelor's degree in political science and a law degree in 6 years instead of typically 7 years, which would save them 1 year, and potentially it could be a draw for students to come into political science and hopefully create a bigger pipeline for the Southern University Law Center. And the reason behind this is that several years ago, we were doing poorly in terms of recruiting students from Southern University Baton Rouge to the Southern University Law Center. We were down to like 5 or 6 students per year coming out of the Baton Rouge campus into the Law Center. We're up to 35 students coming from the Baton Rouge campus of Southern University Law Center. Now the Southern University Baton Rouge campus is the second largest feeder institution for our law center. So we have been working on this over several years, and this is another way to create that pipeline, to create that interest, to try to help build interest both at the undergraduate level and at the law center level to, again, utilize the synergy that's created within the system.
Question.
Okay. Comment.
Yeah. Question, Mr. Chancellor. What are the first year courses of law school? Is constitutional law one of them?
Constitutional law is not one except in the second semester. In other words, typically what we do is the first semester we have basic civil procedure. We have.
I got you. Let me tell you why I ask you that. As if the student, and I'm gonna vote for this, but I'm somewhat concerned about us creating a regimen of sort that kids must adhere to when they can take con law in law school and substitute it for con law in the undergrad, following as opposed to just using electives. So I'll ask that you and Dean Samuels massage it and work and see if, give them some flexibility, like if they can take this class as opposed to basket weaving or whatever the electives are, that they can take some substantive courses in law school and substitute it. But I see the dean shaking his head. I hope I'm making some sense with that, but we'll figure it out. Yeah, okay, all right.
Okay, no, that's not a problem.
Motion?
I move.
It has been moved and second. Any comments, questions? None.
I like to vote.
All in favor, let it be known by aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Ayes have it.
Madam Chairman.
Kelly,
Yes.
I move that we take items B through F in global.
Okay. At this time, we will entertain a motion on B through F. Did I get a,
A second.
okay, motion, second, any opposition? All, let you vote on it. All in favor,
Aye.
let it be known by aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Motion carries. No other business. I'd like to get a motion to adjourn.
So moved. Second.
It's been moved in second that we adjourn.
You gonna vote on that?
No.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair Lady. And then we move on to the athletic committee. Mr. Clayton.
Good morning, Mr. Chair. I call the athletic committee meeting to order. Roll call vote, Mr. President.
yes. Attorney Clayton,
Here.
Dr. Whitfield, Mr. Fondell,
Here.
Reverend Henry, Mr. Hilliard, Mr. Meyer, Dr. Carver.
Yes.
You have a quorum, sir.
Do I really?
No.
I ask that the chairman appoints Mr. Myron Lawson to this committee.
I accept.
Yes.
Do so. Lawson, would you serve as member of this committee for purposes of quorum?
Certainly. Mr. Chair. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll entertain a motion to adopt the agenda.
So moved.
We probably move in second. All in favor? Any opposition? Hearing none, then agenda has been adopted. Any public comment germane to anything on the athletic chair and strike that athletic committee agenda? Seeing no one come up, I'll move to action item A, which is an extension of the employment contract for head coach men's basketball SUBR. Mr. President Chancellor.
Thank you, Mr. Clayton. This recommendation comes before this board in recognition of the accomplishments of both the head men's basketball coach and, if I may, the head women's basketball coach. As you may recall, on last year, both of the men and women's program achieved phenomenal success on the basketball court. In the case of the men's program, they achieved the benchmark of having of winning the conference, the division. They proceeded to the SWAC tournament, where they won the tournament, and accordingly was invited to the participate in the NCAA tournament. In light of having achieved those benchmarks, I felt it appropriate to entertain a recommendation to extend the employment contract of the head men's basketball coach. That extension would be for 2 years, and we are also asking this board to consider an adjustment of $5,000 for the head men's basketball coach in accordance with our aim to recognize him as one of, or in fact, my belief, the best head men's basketball coach in SWAC. I ask your consideration.
Mr. President, I have a comment or question, and if you can help me, Mr. Fundell, with this. One, I think it should go notice that this basketball coach has also served as our interim AD and has done a spectacular job, in my opinion, in both capacities. Having said that, when reading through this contract, it appears that you've incentivized it to the extent that he will get, I think, 10% of any monies that he's raised while acting in the capacity as interim AD. I would like for you at this moment to tell me how you would react to me modifying that incentive and replacing it with a $2,500 a month, not a raise, but to pay him for being AD as well as head basketball coach. I mean, just to have him with he's assuming a role. We saved him some $150,000 by having him operate in that capacity. I don't know if I'm making any sense with that former chair, but I think it would be maybe cheaper on us because he's probably raised some $80,000 this month. So that means he gets $8,000 for raising that $80,000. I commend him on raising that money. But if we paid him just a flat $2,500, we wouldn't have to pay him that. If he raised another couple $100,000, I think we save money by just giving him a flat salary while he's acting as AD. That's just something I want to throw out there to modify this this motion if I can.
Yes, Mr. Clayton. Let me clarify that we are asking this board to also consider, by way of a personal action form, the extension of Coach Banks' role as the interim AD. Now that is not before this board, but that extension actually does speak to an allowance for Coach Banks of $4,000 or $4,500 a month, in additional pay to assume that responsibility. And in light of the fact that we are, in fact, encouraging him to devote much of his efforts toward fundraising, we have considered the 10% incentivized benefit that would reward him for any new sponsorships that come into play.
The chair recognizes the chair of our board, Dr. Talk.
President,
Yes.
have we similarly extended this opportunity to all of our other coaches? The 10% provision of whatever they raise to, is this a standalone situation? Does it currently exist for other coaches?
No, and again, I'm trying to just clarify the different personal actions that are before this board. In the capacity of the head men's basketball coach, that incentivized benefit is not being forwarded at this time. In his capacity as the interim athletic director, we are incorporating that benefit in his capacity as AD.
What is the current status of his role as interim AD? What's the last action that we took reference to that?
Currently, his PF ended June 30th. This board over the last year has endorsed having Mr. Banks assume the role of interim AD over the past year. That role or that contract or that commitment ended June 30th. We are therefore asking the board to consider the extension of that role through December 31 of 2016.
So does that mean that you don't expect to have a recommendation for an athletic director before then?
My aim would be to continue the search for a full-time AD. However, in light of the period of time to which, in light of the fall semester, we wanted to ensure that we had continuity, through the fall. As you can appreciate, as we begin fall sports, we find it may be somewhat difficult finding the best fit for the athletic program in the midst of fall sports. And so, although we will nevertheless be very assertive in trying to identify that best fit, we want to ensure that we have continuity through the fall.
Gentleman chair, I would
And
recognize.
I hadn't finished, Mr. Chairman.
I apologize.
Sorry. And what do we pay him currently for that AD responsibility?
$4,000 a month.
And you were recommending $4,500 a month?
Yes, an extension.
Why the additional $500 a month since we're talking about this extending what he's been doing?
Well, again, I just think that he has done both an outstanding job as a head men's basketball coach and serving in the role of interim AD. I should say to you, and it was in part in light of the fact that he's engaged in a dual appointment, but there's already evidence that the athletic program, whereas last year we were looking at a deficit of as much as $600,000, we think that has been reduced by possibly as much as $400,000 this year. Our attendance has increased. The efforts that we have marshaled to come into conformity with the NCAA, there are just a number of indications that he has performed exceptionally in this role, and we want to acknowledge him accordingly.
You finished, Dr. Talbot?
Yes, I am.
And then before I recognize you, Mr. McGee, I want to comment on something. Therein lies the problem, Mr. President, and why I've asked to supplant the 10% incentivization clause that you have here, because I somewhat question the legality of that if you start this precedent of allowing a coach to get 10% of all the money that he raises, What if somebody gives him $1 million toward scholarship and he gets $100,000 to put in his pocket? I think this it doesn't have a ceiling. So if you were to supplant the 2,500 on top of the 4,000, because if you take 4,000 a month for 6 months, what's that, $24,000? When the job pays 150,000, you get the man to do a dual job. So it's not a raise. So I'm not afraid of contradicting the mandate from the governor in terms of giving a raise, because we're not. We having him do 2 jobs, and we ought at least be able to pay him a third or a fourth of what we're gonna pay that person. So I don't know if that's a lot of mumbo jumbo rambling, but been waiting for you to help me find out you're not saying anything. I'm gonna ask you, Mr. McGee.
Recognize you.
I'm recognizing you, Mr. McGee.
Thank you very much, Chairman. Coach Banks currently has a contract, is that correct?
Yes, he has a head basketball contract.
It expires when?
Now, his current contract does not expire until, I think 20,000.
It's all expired this year.
Can you turn his mic on, somebody? Okay.
It don't expire this year, correct?
It doesn't.
It does not.
Okay, so right now, it's not mission essential to extend this contract, correct?
No, it's not.
I'm not in favor of this. Don't matter. We can wait till it gets to the board or we can handle it now.
I recognize Mr. Fondell.
All right, thank you. I'm gonna kind of speak on what Tony said and also what the president said. In as much as that the position that passed it, he was at 135. We're actually saving money over this period of time. The role that was played before was paid 135. At this point right now, we're paying between 30 and 40% of the actual salary of that person. Am I right? Normally, when the interim position is in place, it's normally 90% of that. That wasn't asked. When the position came about, there was only between 30 and 40% paid. Now, there's some things that have happened since then, as far as being able to turn the APR around. And there was an article that came out and said that we only had 2 out of that. But the president may be able to speak on this. We're trending in the right direction. We've kind of turned the ship around, and we are getting it right. Correct? How are we looking as far as APR for the spring?
Right. So we've already engaged in some preliminary assessment of the various athletic programs or teams. It would appear that that at least 4 of our teams have already reached the 930 benchmark. That includes men and women's basketball. We are assessing football and baseball based on the student athletes' accomplishments during the fall. But we are optimistic that it is highly likely that the football team will reach that benchmark as well. And so I do have to give credit and acknowledgement to the interim athletic director, the staff, for having shaped a program and having possibly reached those benchmarks. But again, I want to clarify what we're talking about here. We're talking about 2 different things. What's on the agenda before you is the extension of the head coach's basketball contract. Now that contract today gives indication of a base salary of $180,000. And as I recall, it ends in 2020. That's his existing contract. And that is, and I want to stop there. We are asking this board, as has been the tradition, to extend his basketball contract to 2 additional years, and where he would incrementally receive a $5,000 increase. It has been the practice of this board, particularly upon such time as a coach, at such time as they reach a benchmark, such as where, in this case, where Southern University basketball was representing the SWAC nationally, that I recall a couple of years ago, the board gave consideration to a recommendation that afforded Coach Banks an increase of $15,000 and a 2-year extension. In light of our fiscal situation, Coach Banks has agreed to a $5,000 increase and a 2-year extension. That is well deserved. That's why we brought this to your consideration. Now, I want to separate the AD piece because I think, Mr. Clayton, you're reflecting on that as well. We have, over the course of this last year, that's separate and apart now, we have advanced a personal action form that provides for or has supported Coach Banks serving as the interim AD.
Is that on the agenda today?
It is not.
So,
And it is not because it falls under the threshold that the board has established in years past. And so that is why it is not on the agenda today.
I'm going to refer back to the gentleman from Lafayette. I think Mrs. McGee makes a good point. That maybe we're premature, but before that, I mean, after this, I'll recognize you, Mr. Chair. But at some point, this man has to continue the role of AD, and if it's not on the agenda today to make him interim AD, at what point do we deal with it?
May I respond?
Yes, go ahead.
My assumption. Hello? Can you hear me?
At any rate, the assumption has been that when an employee PAF or timeline has expired, that the person would continue to be paid on a continuous basis throughout until such time as that condition has changed. And I was trying to think through this in terms of that happening, but I don't agree that it didn't need to be on the agenda simply because the amount didn't follow through. So the fact is that what he's saying is that if you look at the annual salary that we're paying the person simply to be interim AD, that in his mind is what exempts that position from being on the agenda. But it's certainly something that needs to be discussed. And it is not a part of this, so we can separate those two things out and deal with that at another point. But I too have some reservations about the manner in which that is being executed, and I'm sure we can deal with that at another date.
I recognize Madam Lady Ms. Smith.
I'm gonna ask, can we have a brief recess?
Yes. The chair of the athletic committee asked for let's take a 5-minute recess.
year's budget. In this year's budget, we project that it could help us save about close between 250 to 300,000. And we're asking that this be part of what we're doing, as well as the faculty retirement incentive plan. We also have unclassified employees retirement incentive plan. We also have proposed, it's not on the agenda now because it has to go to the Civil Service Board with respect to classified. So we're trying to be very methodical in how we deal with the pressures on the budget as it relates to costs. And that's the only way that we can deal with it. We're never going to see the self-generated dollars go as much as they did. In fact, Mr. McClinton, in a presentation to the board at a retreat, showed how much the Law Center had grown in self-generated dollars. We had doubled the number of dollars in cuts. So we have grown probably as much as we can in that particular area. And now we have to really look at various costs and operational efficiencies.
Okay. Any questions on these items? Mr. McGee.
With Professor White's, Professor Diamond's deal, if I understand correctly, we're taking the cost savings from Professor Jones going back to the faculty.
Yes.
And we're distributing it, not the entire, which is not, it is about this. We're going to realize an $8,000 savings.
It's about a $7,000 savings, because we save about 24,200. So we save about 24,200 from the last board meeting where we reduced it from 144 to 142 to 120. So what I'm proposing is a modest adjustment of $8,800 per year to each one of their salaries, to essentially compensate them for an enormous amount of work that they're going to be undertaking with respect to this area. It's a very modest adjustment. I just thought it was fair to offer some modest adjustment. I just didn't think it would be fair not to. And they have graciously agreed to that modest adjustment.
Yeah, see, I think last month we told our faculty that, hey, we're going to give you tenure, but we can't afford to give you the corresponding salary adjustment with tenure. We're expecting everyone to do more with less. We have positions where, I think on the Baton Rouge campus, custodial positions remaining unfilled because we don't pay enough money for those positions. And so we're asking our custodians to spread out that work. They're not getting salary adjustments. It's just going to be real tough. It's just going to be real tough for me to remain consistent in my position that I'm not in agreement to really do any salary adjustments at this point, unless it is shown to me that the adjustment is mission critical, and mission critical meaning if we don't do this, then the mission of the unit will fail.
Well, I do believe it's mission critical here.
Will fail, Professor.
Will fail, because we will not, if I can't convince those two individuals to do this, then we're going to have to deal with not having a vice chancellor for academic affairs. And
but we know Professor White already got plenty of money.
Well, I can't comment on that. But
if you're telling this board that this is mission critical, and you're on the record telling this board that this is mission critical, then I'm going to support it.
I believe it is
mission critical to me means without going in this direction, the mission of the law center will fail.
Well, my view is I never believe that the law center will fail. So you'll never get me to say that publicly. And that would never. We will make a way, but again, I think in fairness, this is all a tough situation. You know, we're trying to do our very, very best to be very prudent with the resources. The Law Center has always done that. And other times the Law Center has been essentially an excess cash machine for the system in Baton Rouge when it's needed.
Subsidizing the units that have been lacking.
That's right.
Yeah.
And so, you know, all we're asking for a very modest, it's a very modest adjustment.
Okay, thank you, Professor Peter.
Any other questions, on this item?
I move that we,
Here now entertain a motion by Mr. Clayton, properly, any second on the motion?
Second.
I was second by Mr. McGee. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor,
What's the
aye.
motion?
What's the
The
motion?
motion is to request approval for reorganization and, faculty retirement, incentive plan, and you're going with C2 in this motion?
Yeah.
Your wishes.
Thank you, Tony. I think that's what he meant.
That's your.
yes, I will.
Okay. Okay, unreadiness, Smith. Okay, C is request approval of unclassified employees retirement incentive plan proposal.
And I'd like to add one little piece to that. Y'all gotta do that if I'm gonna be for it. Remember, y'all are benign. If I go against it, it ain't gonna pass. So I wanna add this. Put where's the lawyer? These guys, or these folks who are gonna take advantage of this retirement piece, I think we pay them 3 years, third of their salary, and they're done.
Right.
I don't wanna see these folks come back and get hired again. Can I put some kind of language in here that says that you cannot seek employment again for 10 years? Can't be reemployed I mean, you just did this last year, now you're doing it again this year. I just don't want the chancellor or the law school to keep bringing this program up every year. And two, these guys come out and get reemployed after they get this windfall of money. The elder DeQueer is looking at me with a pensive look. You follow me? Can I put something on that?
We'd have to work on that language to make sure that it's, that it's legally acceptable. We've tried that before, we've had problems with the age discrimination.
I don't want to discriminate against, no, that's what I was,
We would have to work on some language to be able to work that in.
I don't know how old they are, so I'm not doing it because of their age, I'm doing it because I don't want them to come back again, take advantage of this money, and then get rehired back.
Well, just for purposes of the discussion of age discrimination, all of them are over 40, so that, I believe.
Thanks for telling me that, mister, I didn't want to know that, so. But,
I mean, I'm just.
all right, the chair telling me to back off again, boy, I tell you, y'all want to, I don't want them coming back to work, because y'all gonna turn back and rehire them again, they're gonna get this money again and again and again. So at least give me that.
I have no
You can
problem.
add that caveat to the motion.
I have no problem with
Let's
that.
clarify this, but I'm gonna entertain the chairman saying first, Mr. Chair.
Yes, I was agreeing with,
Oh,
Good.
and I was
I was hoping
disagreeing.
you were, I was hoping you would agree. Mr. Fundell.
My question, Chancellor Pierre, is the reason why are you hiring them back? Because is there a need? You're not able to fill a position? I mean, what is,
So,
there's a reasoning behind it?
well, so let's talk about that. So I want to be in full transparency. Last year, two of the individuals that were in the group last year were not part of teacher retirement system. We did have them teach a class as an adjunct. In other words, we valued their experience to teach class as an adjunct at a substantial savings. If we had to go out and try to hire somebody to replace them, it would cost them a lot more. Basically, within the teacher retirement system, there is first of all, a 1-year prohibition that they cannot do any teaching at all in any capacity. That's number one. The second is in the plan, we basically put in a 2-year restriction that says you can't be rehired as a full-time faculty member. Now, and I did learn this, so again, these are things that I learned with respect to teacher retirement system. If someone comes back after the first year on a part-time basis, which is an adjunct basis, there are certain limitations that allow them to earn a very small percentage of their normal salary. So one of the strategies that we can think through this process is, are there experienced adjuncts that can fulfill a role that helps you with respect to savings? And in an operation like the Law Center, where we have so many electives that we have to fill, we have to use adjuncts. Adjuncts are a critical part, but particularly if they are experienced lawyers, that is really a gold mine. That's a really good opportunity because the way the academic environment works, we don't want law students just learning from people who do teaching every day. We want them to learn from people who practice. This is one of the critical pieces about what we do.
So in your opinion, it's a cost-effective way of doing it. If you did it the other way, put the limitations, it would actually cost us more money in the long run.
I won't say it costs us more money.
It has the potential.
But it could have the potential if we didn't have some flexibility. We have to have the flexibility, again, subject to the wise oversight by the board and dollars. That's the critical piece.
We would be losing, I'm sorry.
So in your opinion, the language as far as putting that in there, would that be detrimental in some way?
I won't say it would be detrimental. If it's the wish of the board that they want a longer period of time, we can work out the language. That's not a problem because we will not be in a position to hire faculty for a while.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Chair.
Mr. Chair.
How long is your contract?
My contract is through 2019, I believe, sir.
So that's 2 years.
It's actually 3 years. It's 2016 now.
Oh, I had already wiped that one out.
Okay, all
I'm thinking
right.
about fiscal years as
Right,
opposed to.
Right, okay.
So, in other words, under the current conditions that you have, how does this contract affect you? If you should decide in 2 years to retire under these conditions.
I couldn't qualify because a current vice chancellor and or chancellor could not take advantage of this plan. That's one of the provisos that we worked out last year that I made sure was included this year because that was a very important sticking point, as I recall last year. Attorney Clayton, right?
Y'all asking me to keep quiet. I really want to talk about this.
One of the things that, Mr. Chair, you can?
Yes.
One of the things that concern me, Board Member McGee alluded to, of course, this is a retirement incentive plan.
Right.
We've told employees they can't get adjustments. As he alluded to, even though they were entitled to it because of tenure. I don't want this to be converted into an increase of a raise for anyone. And I'm hearing some assurances in this now, but that bothers me to get that. Now, we're gonna lose the fact that we're paying for employment benefits, such as retirement, things of that nature, if they become adjunct, right?
Yeah, so let's.
And that's 40, what, 40%, 45%?
That's 40%. So let's kind of walk through an example.
That's what I want.
All right. So say we have someone at 150,000 a year.
Why don't we use 180?
180. Let's go with 180. Let's go with that. 180. When you throw it in a 40% essential compensation for benefits, that's an additional 72,000. So that person is costing us 252,000. When you multiply that times 3, if that person says, I'm going to stick for 3 years, that's 756,000. Okay? If we say, let's take the base salary, which is 180, and pay it over 3 years, that's 60,000 per year. You're going to subtract the 180 from the 752. Now that individual, by retiring, will get some additional dollars because of accrued sick pay, vacation pay, and some other things related to their employment. So even when you add that on, okay, let's just say, I'm pick up a number, let's say that's an additional 50 or 60,000. Okay, when you subtract that from that 750, that's still a huge number. Let's add in the cost of an adjunct, which at max, the adjunct for a whole year will cost us about $15,000. You add that, that's still another 45, 50,000. When you match that against 750,000 over 3 years versus what we're paying, which is about, essentially with all of this, about say 250 to 300,000, we're saving about 450,000 over that time period, especially in light of an environment where we're going to see law schools across the country, we've already seen it, declining enrollment. If we project this class right now with 188 seat deposit, doesn't mean that all of them are going to show up, but let's say 180 shows. That's our first year baseline for the next 3 years. If we get 180 for the next 3 years, essentially, that's 540. And then we take out essential attrition, we're down to 500 students. For a law center that in its heyday had 753 students, who in its heyday was able to give the system $500,000 cash as a strategic investment to the system. It's not there anymore.
I keep hearing you lean on that pool cost.
No, this is above pool cost. Mr. Clayton, this is Lawson, this is above.
When we get to you, when you tap on that law center, because y'all used to be the cash cows over there. But, my thing is, I don't want backdooring on this. I don't want folk coming back 2 years from now and getting desire to be back on the payroll again because you usurped the intent of this. Now,
I understand.
That's the language we want
if that happens,
these motions to make sure that
that's right.
clearly these motions that does not occur.
And if this happens, I know this board will hold me accountable.
That's why I asked you how long your contract was.
That's right. But I know this board will hold me accountable. I'm fully aware of that.
Make sure the recipients of this, whatever this thing is, know that there are 9 people and it has to be unanimous.
Yes.
Okay. So,
Any other rest on this motion? Hearing
Any
none,
question?
questions called. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. Item number 5D, approval of the proposal to add $12 per semester, $24 per year as a student fee for the use of exam 4. That's SULC.
Yes.
Brief explanation. I think it's self-explanatory.
Yes, exam 4 is now the way that students take examinations. Very few students actually write out exams anymore. And in fact, all the bar exams are going to hardly no one writing. So basically, this has been a way of living for us. We've had some issues collecting the fee. The provider is beginning to threaten us, and we don't want them to start saying, give us the name of the student who's paid the fee. That's a character in fitness. It's just better to just charge the fee. We pay that to them. We get a little discount by doing it, and it makes sense. It's such a small fee.
Mr. Chair, I move that we pass D, E, F, and G. And go on.
You heard, no, I want to address G, but you can do that in the discussion period. That motion's been made, properly second discussion. I just want to discuss G. I've challenged the president, we have to do this, not only from the system level, but the campus level. I've spoken with Mr. McClinton and Mr. Pugh. We've got to start looking at these fee assessments that have been on the books for many, many years to see if we are challenging our students to, not students as much as probably the leadership, to put these fees in appropriate areas that they need to be placed in. As years have gone by, some of these fees are probably not as necessary as they used to have been. I shared that with the chair as well. So between now and probably the next few months, I would like to see you go back and look at all the fee assessments to the students to make sure that we're channeling them the proper areas that they should be channeled into. Okay, any other questions? Hearing none, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Item number 6, any other business needs to come before the Finance Committee? Hearing none. Item number 7, is there a motion to adjourn? Motion made. Consider this adjourned, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much. Awesome, and we move now to the Personnel Affairs Committee. Mr. McGee is chair.
Personnel Committee is now called to order. Roll call vote, please, Mr. President.
Yes. Attorney McGee.
Here.
Mrs. Smith.
President.
Mr. Braxton. Attorney Clayton. Mr. Lawson.
Here.
Reverend Tolbert. Dr. Tolbert.
Here.
You have a quorum, sir.
Thank you, Mr. President. Chair, move for an adoption of the agenda. Do we have a motion?
So
We have a motion. We have a motion and a second. Any opposition? Hearing no opposition, motion passes. Item number 4, public comments. Do we have any public comments germane to the personnel agenda? Seeing that there are no public comments, we're gonna move into action item 5A1. Approval of personnel action on positions greater than $60,000. One, Sharon McGee, no relation to me. She doesn't spell her name correctly. This is a pseudo item. The chair will entertain a motion. Once we have a motion in a second, then we'll get into some discussion. Do we have a motion?
I move.
We have a motion. We have a second. We have a motion and a second. Suno, Doc, what do we have with Ms. McGee?
Ms. McGee will be replacing in the Health Information Management Systems program. Presently, it's just the interim director that's in place. So the 3 people listed there will be replacing those persons who have resigned. So Ms. McGee will be replacing Ms. Andrea Mignot, who was previously in that position.
Okay, and that's a $70,000 position, and so there's no increase on the budget. Is that correct?
No, that's correct.
Is there any other discussion on this action item agenda, 5A1? Seeing that there's no additional discussion, I entertain a motion to approve this action item. Is there a motion?
Mr. Chair, can we move?
I don't want to take it in.
2, 3, and 4.
I don't know, second that if we discuss the one that we want to
The
discuss.
Suno pieces we have together. Can we continue?
Oh, we're gonna do them all together, but then vote on them individually, that's fine.
No, I'm saying.
Because I'm not a sport.
You can have to discuss it afterwards. I was just saying that the motion cover all 4.
Correct.
And you can get each one of
Yeah,
those.
each one of them.
Except for not 2.
Yes, sir. With age comes wisdom. The chair will entertain a motion to accept items 1, 2, 3, and 4. Well, except just item 1 at this time, and then the next motion will be to go to that additional pseudo motions, correct? Because we already have
I was hoping substitute.
Why don't we pull the
Substitute.
ones that's causing some,
well, there's a substitute motion and
I just substitute motion
to include
And then we-
all the others, and then we just move forward. I believe that's procedurally correct. Is that correct, Mr. DeWeer?
You want to pull up to that?
I have a question on,
Okay, this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna vote on number 1, and then we're gonna take 2, 3, and 4 in globo, and then we can have a discussion. How about that? So we're gonna do a vote in favor of action item 5A1. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Hearing no opposition, the chair will accept the motion to handle action items 5A2, Ms. Laura Duraso, 5A3, Mr. John Barlow, and 5A4, Mr. Doty Senior in globo. Is there a motion?
Second, yes. Move.
We have a motion and a second. Yes, ma'am.
The 2 and 3.
Yes,
Are they
ma'am.
New positions, newly created positions, or are they, I noticed there is no interim there. Are they replacement positions, or just what, as far as the budget is concerned?
Those are current positions, however, all 3 of those were interim positions.
Okay. It doesn't have interim with 2 and 3, but it is an interim?
Yes, 2 and 3 are also interim positions.
And they were already,
They were already there.
they're replacements also?
Yes.
Oh, okay, all right. That's all. She said 2 and 3 and 4.
Yeah.
They're not raises, are they?
They're not raises.
It's just replacements.
That's right.
Well, let's dig a little deeper. Do we have any other discussion on this matter? I'm gonna go ahead on and let's look particularly at Ms. Duraso. I believe she is taking the place of Ms. Hartford. Is that correct, Doc? She's replacing Ms. Hartford, correct? Ms. Hartford was making $70,000 a year. Ms. Duraso was at one point employed by Southern University. I think she worked Suno for 4 years at the rate of 83. I think it was $83,000 or $84,000 a year. And I read something in the packet that we needed to pay her 90% of her previous salary, as mandated by some of our employment rules. Is that accurate? I mean,
It's just a practice.
it's just a practice. Okay, so My concern with Ms. Duraso is if the previous individual is making $70,000 a year, why do we need to pay Ms. Duraso the extra additional $4,160 a year? And if this was just a practice, I have no problem with Ms. Duraso making the same amount as Ms. Hartford made when she left.
No, the difference is that on the interim basis is where our policy kicks in the 90%, not on a permanent basis. So if this person were coming on to a permanent position, then we go back to your basic point about basic salary.
Okay, well,
So
I'm not sure if Ms. Hartford was making if $70,000 was 90% of what?
Miss DeRosa was, making 88,000 in that position.
Okay. So where do we get the $74,000 number from versus the $70,000 number?
The request was that, Miss DeRosa's, it was at Miss DeRosa's base salary when she left that position.
Correct.
That's 90% of, 1080.
What's that?
And then 90% of,
Please consider approving Ms. DeRosa's salary at the mandated 90% of temporary positions are $74,160. Well, then
7,000.
74,160. And then my question is, if Ms. Hartford could do it at 70,000, why can't we find somebody else to do it at 70,000?
Miss Hartford did not have that, RHIE certification that Miss DeRosa possesses.
Mr. Chairman, are we not talking about the difference between the value we place on the position versus the value we place on the person? In other words, the position required a certain amount, and somebody served in that position at a lesser amount. The income is not based on the person who served interimly. It's based on the amount of salary for the position.
Okay.
So that's what the 90%, that's why it's a couple of $1,000s more.
Okay, again, if we were paying somebody $70,000 to do the job and they were doing it effectively, why are we paying Ms. Duraso or intending to pay Ms. Duraso more money?
May I follow up on my statement to you?
I would much prefer the single chance.
I want to clarify something for you.
Okay.
Our policy and our practice isn't to pay someone who serves in an interim position a certain amount of money. If the person who is in that position is making less money, it may be because that person had less qualifications. That's part of what the chancellor is talking about. So we are obligated to look at the salary set for the position, not the salary of the person who was in the position. That's been our policy practice. Now you have your discussion.
When we have policies and practices, when we have money or the ability to pay, I completely understand that. But when we are in tight fiscal times, especially on the SUNO campus, I think that every cent counts. I think if we're not I certainly believe that there's a strain placed on the system by a couple of academic units, SUNO included, and so we're going to really have to count our pennies. Again, I'm not overly concerned about what we did in the past. I want to look at what we need to do in the future, especially over the next 12 months, when hopefully we can have our budget stabilized. Again, what I'm understanding is that your intent is to pay Ms. Duraso $74,160 because you believe that she's worth it.
Yes, she has the credentials.
The credentials.
And this program is a program that requires certain credentials.
And paying her this rate is mission critical.
Yes, actually, we're paying her less than the position.
Than what she's worth.
Right.
Okay, so we're getting some bang for the buck.
Yes.
Thank you, Doc.
on your new phrase, mission critical.
Star Trek, yes. Star Trek, Marty.
Well, then, you know, my point is, when you look at Ms. Harris or Mr. Barrelou, you know, Ms. Harris, the previous employer was making 80 grand. Mr. Barrelou is coming on at 72,000. So with the savings of $8,000,
Yes.
that's great. That's great. And then we move on to, it kind of shocked me with Mr. Doty, where Mr. Clark was making 75,000. And Mr. Doty was making 45.5, and then we had him jump up to 67.7 or 67.6, and I said, whoa. But then I realized again, we're having a net savings. Is that
That's
correct? Okay, so overall, in looking at all of these salary adjustments,
We're actually saving.
we have a net
We have a net saving.
overall.
That's
And
correct.
I know I'm a little slower than the chairman to take that. I think I'm
So
much younger, but much younger, but a little slower, because I don't want the perception. I don't want the perception to be that we are giving salary adjustments to certain individuals and not giving them to others for whatever reason. And I don't want the perception to be that this board did not think through the process. And I'm probably the slowest person on the board, and it takes me a little longer than everybody else to get there. But for my edification, I appreciate your patience as well as Dr. Tarver's patience with me. With that being said, I think that there is a good factual. Ms. Smith?
I wanted to make a motion on 2, 3, and 4.
Second.
Got a motion. I'm gonna call the question off. Sorry, motion, yeah. Call the question. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Hearing that there's no opposition, we're going to move to action item. Derek Warren, Southern University System Director of Alumni Affairs at 70 grand. Mr. President.
I move if you want discussion.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Lawson.
Second.
Got a motion and a second, Mr. President, for discussion.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We ask your consideration to support the recommendation of Mr. Derek Warren as Director of Alumni Affairs. Mr. Warren enjoyed the support of a selection committee, a committee that entertained as many as 31 applications for this position. And of course, he rose to the top of those applicants and is considered ideally suited to assume the role of Director of Alumni Affairs. We ask that Mr. Warren actually began the role of facilitating and directing and offering leadership to Alumni Affairs with the anticipation that this board would hopefully ratify this appointment, in keeping with the fact that as late as a couple of weeks ago, we were hosting the Southern University Alumni Federation meeting in Chicago, with the advent of the abrupt resignation of the former director, is that right? Interim director. There was a critical need to secure someone who could support the facilitation of that conference. Today, then, we ask your consideration to appoint formally Mr. Warren as the Director of Alumni Affairs.
Question.
Mr. Lawson, then Ms. Smith. Are you going to defer? You're going to be a gentleman. Ms. Smith, then Mr. Lawson, and I'm going to come next.
My only question is that the past director's salary, did it exceed, was it equal to 70,000?
Yes, the former director was an interim director.
No, that was an interim. I mean, the past,
Yes, it was equivalent to $70,000.
it was more, less, or the same?
It was the same, generally the same. The former director's salary was 70,500. And we asked that Mr. Warren consider a salary of 70,000.
Mr. Lawson.
I think the former director would probably agree that she was woefully underpaid if she was in the room.
Yeah.
But, I just wanted to commend the leadership and committee for selecting a very, very sharp candidate. I am quite surprised, quite frankly, that we were able to get him. He was smart enough to have me as a freshman when he was the SGA president here on campus, and I'm looking for a lot of exciting things, Mr. National President, to continue to occur as a result of Mr. Warren assuming this role if the board does indeed decide to approve it today. And I think Mr. Warren is in the audience too, Mr. President.
He's a great candidate. I move for approval.
All right.
He's out there.
We still have board members in line to have a discussion. There's a motion on, the motion is already on there. We got it, yeah.
And I just simply want to compliment the young man. I had a chance to meet him at the National Alumni Conference. He did just an extraordinarily outstanding job in such short notice to help us through this experience. And I'm sure the president of the Alumni Association's comments a second ago support that fact. Great appointment.
Where is the $70,000 coming from?
It is supported through the system.
And is the foundation or the federation putting up any of this money?
No, they're not.
Is there any particular reason why they're not? If he's gonna be working with Alumni Affairs? As I understand, nationwide, there are different models of how these individuals are paid. Mr. Lawson.
What's been kind of unfortunate, particularly because of, I guess, the way that things are flowing, I want to comment because that's Preston's, the guy that should be up at the mic, thank you. But the intent has always been for the executive director of the alumni to be, since I've known, to be autonomous, and there's a lot of value in that. I think this is the guy that's going to make that happen, just as I thought Al Horrell would be the guy that would make it happen for the foundation. And that's proven to be true. So I think this is the time now that's going to occur. But I'll yield to Mr. Castile, if it's your wishes, Mr. Chair, to recognize him on that.
First, Mr. Clay.
You're onto something there, Mr. McGee. My question would be to the president. Is this position, does he work for the university or does he work for the alumni? And if he works for the alumni, can we then take state taxpayers' dollars to pay the salary of somebody who's adherent to the alumni? It seems like to me the alumni, Mr. Castile, want to take their own money and pay this guy. Why would he take money out of our coffers? I like the guy. I'm going to vote for you, mister, but I want to know if he gets by this. I want to know why we need state money, and is that legal to take the state money and put over there in the alumni's office?
Yes.
I can deal with that for you. As we established this some time ago when I was president. It was received
That was
at
at 20
university.
30.
Yeah, well, I'm going to give you some foundation for it.
I was being sarcastic. I was asking,
wow.
it's 1920 when you were president.
My hair is gray. I don't have no fall on that. The truth of the matter is that the university has a vested interest in providing service to the alums, the people who graduate from this institution. And it's a part of our marketing and outreach program. However, it was always anticipated that the alumni organization would see fit to supplement the money that we were paying, because we have long felt that the amount of money paid for a director should be greater than what is otherwise provided. And I have every confidence that the alumni organization would be considering that possibility so that in the next time we have this discussion, perhaps we'll see some more appreciation by the association for our endeavor. And
Preston, get back there.
I was just doing to wake him up back there.
Well, right away, Mr. Chairman.
Can I finish my question?
But that was a question?
Yeah, the question is whether or not, and I don't know if you answered it, Mr. Chair. My question was whether or not this position was a private position being funded by taxpayers. I understand that what the chairman's saying is that they offer a benefit for us. That's not the question I'm looking for, Lori. I want to know if he is an employee of the alumni. Does he answer to the alumni president federation? Or does he answer to Dr. Belton? Because you can't have dual rank. So if he walks like a duck, quack like a duck, he's a duck. He's an employee of the Federation of Alumni. Or is he an employee? I'm sorry.
I mean, he answers to the office of the president.
He answers to the,
Yes, sir.
so Mr. Castillo
And he works in concert with the alumni affairs now.
I'm done with it then. I see y'all getting mad at me because I'm asking.
I'm not mad. I should point out that Mr. Castile and I, we have had many discussions about how we could go forth and ensure that we have the appropriate infrastructure to support our goals as relates to alumni affairs. And so we have other staffing considerations that provide for shared resources. But in the case of the director does report to the office of the president, working with the national president to advance his particular goals.
So I guess his title is, he works for you, but he's on loan to Mr. Castillo. I'll take that. I'll accept that.
This configuration of structure is typical. It's very typical. And so we are conforming to a,
Okay.
Question.
yes.
Mr. Lawson.
I call for the question.
Second.
Remember, y'all have a 9 people. You can call for the question. All you want, but
That's your done.
Go on, Tony, let's get on.
all right.
Okay, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposition? Hearing that there's no opposition. However, I'd like to, point of personal privilege and just add the caveat that at some point in time, whether it's at some point in time, I would like to see the Federation put a little skin in the game. Des Moines Rutledge and I, although he's not a representative of the Federation, went round and round on this particular issue. I hear that Mr. Warren is going to be a valuable asset to the Southern University system. However, I would like to see the Federation as well as the foundation come up with a couple of dollars for positions like this. So moving on, action item 5.
Excuse me.
Yes, ma'am. Madam Smith from the Tangipahoa Parish.
I would just like to, in that we acted on, Mr. Warren, hear him say something.
Oh, Mr. Mr. Warren. Good morning, sir.
Good morning to this esteemed board, to Chairman. To this esteemed board, and also to the administration, to faculty, to students, if any are present, and to Friends of Southern University. I find it extremely humbling to be able to serve an institution that I love. I remember coming to Southern University many years ago, and I will also add, my parents are Grambling alums. There are buildings on Grambling's campus named after my relatives and descendants. My heart is with Southern University. I still love Grambling, I always will, but my heart is with Southern University. So I considered it an extreme honor to have an opportunity to give back to an institution that I love so much. I look around this room and I ask that every person who is not currently a member of the Southern University System Alumni Federation, that you reconsider. My day one priorities are in three areas primarily. I call them an arc. They are around analysis, they are around assessment, and they are around, of course, analytics. Secondly, they are around the R in that arc, A-R-C. They are around recruitment of alumni. They are around retention of alumni, and they are around reclamation of alumni. Third is the C. That focuses on communication. Communication has those three areas of collection. That's collecting information about alumni. That is communicating, repeat of the C, with alumni, faculty, administration, the board, everyone who is a part of the Southern University system. And last but not least, it's credibility building. I think right now it's important for the Alumni Federation, working in partnership with the administration, faculty, staff, and students, and the foundation to focus on those three areas. And it's my goal as a servant of this university and as a servant leader to work toward making sure that our great university becomes greater and greater. And you have my commitment to that respective goal.
Thank you, Mr. Warren.
Thank you as well.
Let us keep him away from microphone.
I know. Action item 5A6, Francesca Williams, Associate Professor, Tenure Track, new appointment, $73,000. Is there a motion?
I move.
Well, I tell you what, how about 6, 7, and 8 in Globo?
No.
Nope. We have a motion. Do we have a second, Ms. Smith? Do we have a second on 5A6? Anyone? Yeah, we have a motion and a second. SUBR, Mr. President, Chancellor, are you gonna handle it or?
Yes, I'm gonna ask if Dr. Young would qualify this appointment for this recommendation.
Yeah, could you identify yourself and let us know who you are and why
Yes,
you're
sir.
sitting at the table?
Absolutely. Good morning. I am Laura Young, and I serve as the Vice Provost for Academic Affairs, Southern University Baton Rouge campus. I am representing Dr. Chris Brown, who, as you know, serves as the Executive Vice President for Academic Affairs and Provost. For your consideration is the appointment of Dr. Fran Williams to the position of Associate Professor in the Department of Science and Math Education doctoral program. It's actually the position that I occupied prior to taking this position, and the request is being made to appoint her to this position as an associate professor on tenure track.
Is this permanent or interim?
Permanent.
Any other questions? Seeing that there are no questions, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? No opposition? Oh, I apologize, Ms. Smith. Please make sure the record reflects Ms. Smith's. All right, we're gonna move.
I know we hadn't gotten to the board yet, but if Ms. Smith is opposing to that board and it doesn't have the 9 votes to pass, this person, because I might have the same objection to one of the people that followed. If I were to vote not for it, and they don't have 9 votes, does the salary kick in or what?
Is there a question about these? I'm not sure what the objection
It's not
is.
voted for in this committee. If that carries on to the general board, when we vote, and she doesn't vote for it, then that person doesn't have 9 votes. And the same as follows with maybe one of the persons that's to come. If I choose not to vote for one of those people, then will that action item take effect? And if it doesn't, then does that person cease to be in that position?
They just condition. It depends upon what Ms. Smith will do. On a non-voice vote, that opposition does not require the majority. If it's a vote, roll call vote, it does.
I'm gonna demand a
So
roll
you're-
call vote on that.
Well, but I was just
Talking about Smith.
informing the, yeah.
So if she were to, the point is, what happens? That's the question.
You can.
No,
Okay, roll call vote, Mr. President. And again, just for the record, we're talking about 5A6. Ms. Williams, roll call vote, Mr. President.
586.
Thought the chairman was talking about roll call vote at the general meeting, not this.
No,
But that's fine. Ms. Smith just asked for a roll call vote right now.
We give
Yes.
Ms. Smith what she wants. We don't
Yes, sir. Well, almost everything she wants to. 5A6.
Yes.
Yes.
Attorney McGee,
Yes.
Mrs. Smith,
No.
Mr. Braxton, Attorney Clayton,
Yes.
Mr. Lawson.
New appointment?
It is a new appointment.
No, you on the committee, man.
Well, he called my name.
At the bottom, you're on the personnel committee as far as the agenda is concerned.
Okay, I thought you were telling me I was on it.
Myron K. Lawson,
That's what I thought. I read quite well.
right, okay.
I just want, this is a new promotion. How is this different? I didn't get a chance to do the question. How does this differ from the ladies that came in gentlemen? I think may have been in there from Shreveport where they were granted tenure. So we didn't give them adjustment in their salaries.
Okay, we're in the middle of a vote.
What's that?
We're in the middle of a vote. Can we entertain the question? The question has been called. We're in the middle of a vote, Ms. Lawson.
Was a vote called on the question?
What comes first, the chicken or the egg?
Procedure, what do we need? Procedure.
Was there a vote on the call?
Correct, we've already started voting.
Was there a vote on the call?
Point of order. Mr. DeQueer.
My point of order is, was there a vote on the call?
Please
For the-
ask the lawyer. I don't know.
So when the vote for the call was made, was there a vote for the call?
Was there a vote on the call the first time that y'all voted?
When the question was called, was there a motion, was there a vote on the call for the question?
No, they voted on the actual item.
But there was never a vote on the call, right?
There was never a call
So
for
I
a
think I'm
question.
in order.
Does a roll call, a roll call require a motion?
If there's a call
No.
for a vote, then
There's
call
no
for a
vote.
vote requires a vote. Not necessarily, but you can. You want to be parliamentarily correct. But anyway, go ahead through, because if I'm not allowed to ask questions, my vote's no.
That's fine. Your vote is no?
Yeah.
Next.
Reverend Corbett, Dr. Topper.
No.
The motion fails.
Motion fails. We're gonna move on to action item 5A7. Dr. Brown. Well, Mr. President, I'll let you handle it, Dr. Brown.
As you're aware, Dr. Brown has been asked to serve as interim chancellor of the Southern University Agriculture Research Center and dean of the College of Agriculture. This request is to allow him to extend that appointment through August 31 of 2016.
Question, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chair.
To our attorney.
Mr. DeQueer. Ms. Williams, Mr. DeQueer.
I have a question very similar to the one we just got off on. If Dr. Brown is serving as the interim and the extension that he had as an interim expires by custom with that or by law or rule, the person who continues to serve in that post does so until the board fills that post. So a vote for the extension is not necessarily required for the next month or so.
If I'm understanding you correctly, he already has a temporary contract for this appointment?
He has a temporary,
You're speaking to the mic.
that's all right. He's in an interim post.
Are you pondering that?
Okay.
Add this to
Okay, let me make a correction. I wasn't aware that this interim appointment includes a position that was not previously there, and that was the deanship of the College of Education. So this is in fact establishing that.
You answered my question. Because my deal is staying there as the interim dean, chancellor, but giving him the dean capacity, I'm gonna vote no. And if he's not gonna, then let's see if he got 9 votes to get it. If he doesn't get it, I think even if I vote no on extending his contract, it's over with for him. And the fact that the chairman asked you a leading question as if whatever he said, that doesn't change contract law in Louisiana. I made a pretty good grade in that. He does not have a contract if he doesn't get 9 votes today. He is effectively, his contract is over with. Then we need to put somebody else in his spot.
His contract would be over, but it wouldn't necessarily end his employment.
He can go back to work, but he's not gonna be the interim chancellor today if he doesn't have 9 votes, in my opinion.
For the renewal of the contract or for the appointment of him as the interim?
Appointment of him as the interim.
He would continue to serve until.
If it runs out today.
I mean, that's the point of the interim, unless you want to define the term.
I'm not defining anything. Here's my point. I'm not being sarcastic.
No.
It expires, listen to me, the word expiration has a meaning in Black's Law Dictionary. Over with. When you die, you're not coming back. So to serve, I can't continue toning. It expires July the 1st. We're voting now. If he does not have the votes, it's expired. He's no longer the interim chancellor. That's just the way I'm reading it. And y'all telling me that he continues?
No. The question is whether or not this action is necessary, is what I was trying to get to. Since the spirit of what he was doing was only to extend it to next month, my sense was that since he's already an interim, or whenever you name him the interim, he will just continue it on a month-to-month basis, just as time as we change that.
I suggest you withdraw this action item that we're about to vote on, because I understand that, but if we vote on it and he doesn't get it.
And that's what I'm saying. I didn't put it there, the president.
And then the other part of it, appointing him dean or whatever that is, that's a new issue that has to come before this board. I like to vote on that, and I would not vote for it. And Mr. President, I know you get frustrated, but you put this stuff on the agenda, and folks like me gonna question it every time.
No, I'm just qualifying the position. There is the position of chancellor effective July 1. It's no longer a part of our organizational structure. Effective July 1, the role that brings leadership to the Agriculture and Research Extension Center is one of chancellor of the Agriculture Research Extension Center and dean of the College of Agriculture as of July 1. And so this request then requests, in light of the fact that Dr. Brown has been serving previously as the chancellor, interim chancellor of the Ag Center, this consideration recognizes the new title for that role and asks that the board extend his role through August 31.
To include the new intern.
Yes.
I'm ready for the vote on it. What you saying and what drives up with, today we're voting on naming him the dean, or making him the dean, just assume the role of whatever he was, and that's a vote on it. And if he doesn't get 9 votes, it doesn't happen. I can't sit here and have you say to me, well, even if you voted down, he's still, why am I voting on it then?
No, I think you're right. I'm saying that at this point, we do not have a PAF to support Dr. Brown in this role as an interim chancellor and dean. So we bring it for your consideration.
I'm ready for vote.
Ms. Smith.
169,884. Is this an increase in salary?
What is that? It is the same salary. I'm not sure if I'm being clear. I'm just simply saying that, based on the action of this board to consolidate or to merge the College of Agriculture with the Chancellor of the Agriculture and Extension Center, effective July 1, then that person, then the title has changed, responsibilities of that role has changed. And so this action then recognizes that. We do not have a personal action form that supports anyone serving in that role, and that's what this personal action attempts to do.
May I supplement that with a comment?
I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Fontaine. So what you're saying is, it's just a name change. We voted a couple of months ago on change. So we just doing the name change and everything else remains the same.
Yes, we have an active search ongoing for the Chancellor of the Agriculture and Dean position. We anticipate this bringing 3 candidates or candidates to this board next month. In the interim, and this is simply an interim role, we are asking to, we are requesting that Mr. Brown be allowed to continue to bring leadership in this role until such time as the board gives consideration to a permanent Chancellor Dean.
Mr. Chair.
I want to address both concerns. When we decided as a board to combine the 2 positions into one, we were effectively taking the salary of one and which was going on in order to allow for some negotiation of that salary. When we name someone, we anticipated naming someone next month. That would be the finality of the search taking place. Now, surely we were not anticipating paying that one person the combined salaries. So it is generally felt that the salary for the new position would in fact be established in some way. The floor for that is contained in the money that is given here, that's provided here for the temporary piece. And we have nothing on record as a justification for paying the person any money relative to the deanship of the College of Agriculture, because that's where also part of the money would be coming from. So I think this was just designed to clean it up for the moment, and it's only a 30-day moment when we're going to make a permanent decision on next month. So this is just, I think, a precedent setting in the sense that we're finalizing what we did a month or so ago, and it is not viewed as a income increase because this position is going to end up paying more money than what is here. Once we complete the consolidation by naming someone to this job and negotiating a salary that must be approved by this board.
Having heard what you just said, then I'm okay. So in 30 days, you're gonna be able to vote, because you haven't been having us waiting on this position forever. So you're saying within 30 days, we're gonna have, whether it's him or whomever, that we get to vote on somebody and not keep making this extending every month. And it's more so a reflection upon you as opposed to the position, because every month we're dealing with this deal interim. It's time for you to name somebody. But if the chairman says we'll have somebody to vote on, or people to vote on the next 30 days, then I'm okay with this. But
Mr. Clayton, we have a motion and a second on the table. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Is there any opposition?
One, no.
Ms. Smith, there is opposition.
Question.
Roll call vote.
Roll call vote, Mr. President.
Yes. Attorney McGee,
Yes.
Mrs. Smith,
No.
Mr. Braxton, Attorney Clayton,
Change my mind again, no.
Mr. Lawson,
Yes.
Reverend Norbert, Dr. Tarver.
Yes.
The motion passes.
What's the count?
It's 3-5, 3 yeses,
3-2.
3-2, I'm sorry.
That's okay. Until it gets to the board, right, Tony? We understand. We understand.
Count pretty well for a lawyer, that's.
33%, that's all I know. Action item 5A8, Kimberly Williams. Do we have a motion for approval?
So
Do we have a second?
Second.
Discussion, SUBR,
I would like,
Ms. Smith.
I would like to have an explanation of this position and job description.
Is it mission critical?
Pardon?
Is it mission critical?
And is it mission?
Mr. President.
Yes. Actually, we bring this to your consideration. It was a recommendation that recognizes the attributes of Ms. Kimberly Williams. She's previously supported the interest of the system as the interim director of the Southern University Lab School. And one of our, and so we have an interest in bringing her to this role in light of her relationships with K-12. We think that those relationships will enable us to develop more substantive relationships with high schools in the area, help assist us or help extend a range of resources that would enable us to build dual enrollment opportunities in the like. But more so, really to assist in our recruitment goals by having a more substantive relationship with K-12 institutions in South Louisiana. This is a new position, yes. We therefore request your consideration of it.
Okay, okay, this is like a brand new position.
It is. It is.
So that means it wasn't on the organizational chart, the current organizational chart, is that correct?
That's correct.
Of course. Then going back to the lady from Tangible Parish, and in keeping in mind with the mandate from the fourth floor downtown, why are we creating these new positions?
So the mandate, the executive order attempts to freeze, as I appreciate it, all classified and unclassified merit-based considerations. The university, notwithstanding, it is my belief that we nevertheless have to establish infrastructure to support the interests of the university. In this particular case, we recognize that dual enrollment, we recognize that the degree to which we engage with students as early as possible have a direct impact on our recruitment, or the degree to which we realize our recruitment goals. And that's why we gave serious consideration to this appointment and think it would ultimately be of value to the university. Going forth, and certainly we will be guided by the interests of this board, but going forward, we have to identify those critical roles that we think that would advance our interests. And so I never interpreted the executive order as being one that frees all new appointments to the university.
Here's my comment on it. I'm done with it, Mr. President. I think it's incumbent.
It's a comment, not a question, right?
Whatever it is, I'm gonna ask.
Okay, what's the question?
It can be a statement. I'm gonna ask, I'm gonna make it, all right? Here's my, whatever Mr. Gee wants to be call it that. Here's what it is.
Yeah.
It's incumbent upon you to start merging the job duties with some of these folks that you got, and let K-12 initiative, whatever that person is. I can't understand. I can single out Dr. Robin, but let her do it. Or go get somebody else, let them do some of this stuff as opposed to just finding money. You spend a lot of money here and we don't have the money. So, I'm second, but I'm gonna change my mind again and vote the other way. I heard your expectation.
Thank you for your concern. Roll call vote, Mr. President.
No further comment on this?
Oh, we're gonna come.
I close it because I want to make a follow-up comment. I understand both points of view. As I read the executive order, it seemed to me to specifically target increases, merit increases. And it did not speak to no employment or whatever. It certainly does expect those in authority to be accountable and also to make prudent decisions, whether that's to create a new position or not. But I didn't see this post as the last one I voted with you on, but I did it for a different reason. Not because I thought this order applied to it, because to me, unless this attorney can tell me different, does this executive order include or exempt this position or the one we just voted before? We voted on 6 and 7 and 8, and the same issues keep coming up. And now on 8, we're talking about the question of whether or not this is impacted by the executive order. Does the executive order, and to what extent does the executive order, you don't have a copy of it, I'm sorry. To what extent does this executive order apply to this particular position? It's a new position. And I'm looking particularly at section 1.
It applies to increases and not necessarily.
Could you,
promotions. I'm sorry.
I can't hear you.
It applies to increases and not necessarily promotions or appointments.
Thank you, Mr. Laura. Mr. Chair, do you have any further questions?
And so my second comment to Mr. Clayton, that I thought is laudable, was a question of, given our financial situation, is it practical or not, even though we have a need, to create a new position and to fund that position in light of the restraints that we have? This has nothing to do with whether or not we need the position. I take it that you're proposing it because we need it, and I take that. But when I look again at our financial situation, we're creating one where we're struggling through all the others. You know, is it a critical position to have? It's a good position to have. The question is it critical? And I may go back and use your phraseology about mission driven.
Oh, yes, you can answer, Mr. President. And thank you, Mr. Chair, for explaining what Mr. Clayton was attempting wholeheartedly to explain.
Well, certainly, I think we have to make, in my opinion, we're gonna continue to have to make decisions whether or not we believe the positions are critical, whether or not they represent a return on our investment. We believe that this position does, that the establishment of this position will in effect have a substantive effect on our, a positive effect on our recruitment. But I would defer any further comments related to this by possibly asking some clarification from the board in terms of your interest in us we're seeking some guidance in terms of whether or not you want us to advance new appointments. If that is the pleasure of the board, then we will act in accordance to that. But again, I think for us to be able to move the agenda of Southern University forward, we would like some discretion in terms of considering critical positions and those to which would ultimately provide us a return on our respective investments.
Call for the question.
Okay, let's do a roll call vote, Mr. President.
Yes. Attorney McGee?
No.
Mrs. Smith?
No.
Mr. Braxton? Attorney Clayton?
No.
Mr. Lawson?
No.
Reverend Corbett? Dr. Tarver? Motion fails.
Okay, in the, I think it was the Athletics Committee meeting, we deferred the contracts for Coach Banks, Coach P. I think we just did B and C, and then they approved D. So I'll take a motion to defer action item 5, B and C. So we have a motion. Do we have a second? Roll call vote. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposition? Hearing no opposition, we're going to move to action item 5A D, which is the extension of the employment contract for Coach Kadar. And as I understand it, it passed in the Finance Committee. We'll take a motion for passage on that. 5D. We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
The only question that I have in looking at the contract, one of the terms that was changed was the amount of his pay. Was there an increase in the contract for Coach Kadar's pay?
There was not an increase. No, actually,
Was there a decrease?
there was not an increase in the pay. It was actually adjusted down.
Okay. It was adjusted downward. So with that understanding, let's have a roll call vote, please, Mr. President.
Yes. Mr. McGee?
Yes.
Mrs. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Braxton? Attorney Clayton?
Question. Why, what's the duplicitous nature of having two things?
Sorry?
I think it's directed to me.
Yeah, I just want to know for sake, why?
I asked that same question. It apparently had become a practice in certain instances in order to do that, where money was involved. We usually had it in finance, where the substantive position was involved. It was usually assigned to the committee, whether it was academic or athletic.
Thank you for that.
And I think we also do the same thing with faculty. Academic affairs passes their tenure, and then when there's when we have money to do a salary adjustment, then either finance or we need a PAF, then it goes to personnel. So
I vote yes to approving baseball coach's contract.
Okay. Mr. Lawson?
Yes.
Reverend Robert? Dr. Tarver?
Yes.
Motion passes.
all right, let's move to number 6. Any other business? Seeing that there's no other business, we'll entertain a motion to adjourn. And Ms. Smith, well, prior to that, let me say this. I think I don't want to. There was robust discussion during this committee meeting with some laughter first on my part. We try to add some humor sometimes, and you know, I apologize if anyone finds that offensive. Second of all, I believe that in these dire financial times, I think that if you look at the action of this board under the leadership of Chairman Tarver, you will see that we are scrutinizing every cent. So I would suggest to the president and the chancellors as well that you have extreme thought prior to adding something on the agenda, because I can assure you that it will be subject to intense scrutiny from this body. With that being said, we are adjourned.
May I make a comment?
Yes, ma'am, certainly, ma'am.
I would just like to thank you for being thorough with the finances today. I appreciate that. And I think you clarified some of the questions that are being asked. And with transparency, I think we will be able to grow and move forward.
Yes,
It
ma'am.
doesn't mean that we're against anybody. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Smith. We are adjourned.
Campaign is on. Donald Trump and get Hillary.
Thank you very much. And now,
I'm not campaigning for anything.
yeah. Now we'll move on to our Board of Supervisors meeting. Now called to order. Could we have a roll call vote before you leave, please? Let's have a 5-minute recess, please. Yeah, let's do a 5-minute recess.
I think everybody is.
What do you think, man? Stuff on the block.
Come to order, please.
Set. Set.
We're going to take our seats. To order. As our members in the back, if they can join us. All of us up. Yes, Mr. Lawson, if he could do us the honor of his presence. Okay. Do we have everyone here? Yes. Thank you very much. The meeting of the Board of Supervisors is now called to order. May we have a roll call vote, Mr. Secretary?
Yes. Dr. Tower,
Here.
Mr. Braxton, Clayton.
Here.
Mr. Fondell. Mrs. Franklin.
Here.
Dr. Gaines.
Here.
Reverend Gant. Reverend Henry. Mr. Hilliard. Mr. Lawson.
Certainly, bless.
Attorney McGee.
Here.
Mr. Small. Mr. Meyer. Mrs. Smith.
Present.
Reverend Tolbert. Dr. Whitfield. You have a quorum, sir.
Thank you very much, Mr. Secretary. Now we go to the item 3, adoption of the agenda. What's your pleasure?
So moved. Second.
Been properly moved and seconded to adopt the agenda as stand. Any questions? All those in favor, let me know on the side of aye. Those opposed, don't have it. Item 4, public comments. Are there any public comments being made at this time on items relative to the agenda? Seeing no one coming forward, we move now to item 5, which is action items A, B, C, D, E, and F. What is your pleasure? We are on action item A.
Move A.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the rest of it. Action item A, let me know on the side of aye. Those opposed, so have it. Action item 5B, committee reports and recommendations. What's your pleasure?
Mr. Chair, I like that. I would appreciate if we can extrapolate from this global reports, the Personnel Affairs Committee, and take up items 7 and 8 respectively, and allow items 1 through 6 to take on the recommendations from whatever the committees recommend.
I would just suggest that instead of doing it in global, we take each.
Okay.
Yeah.
I withdraw that. I just ask that we extrapolate the whole Personnel Affairs Committee 5, action item 5A, 1 through 8. Okay.
Is that a second? Been properly moved and second that we take up items 7 and 8, all of the committee reports accepted.
And along that.
Wait.
We have some in finance as well.
Wait, no. How about we just do each committee separate because they're.
So items in each one of those?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I apologize, but there are some things that I don't.
Okay. Now back to item 5B, committee report. What is your pleasure with the Academic Affairs Committee?
I modify my motion and ask that we take up each committee respectfully and put in one of the motion, and that we itemize, go through each respective committee's recommendations.
And second on that?
Second.
All those in favor, let me know on the sign of aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? In keeping with that motion, now we return to the Academic Affairs Committee. What is your pleasure?
I move that on items 6A through F that we approve in global on the Academic Affairs Committee.
Second.
Been properly moved and seconded that we pass in global items 6A through F. Any questions? Any objections? On those in favor, let me know on the sign of aye. Aye. Those opposed? So have it. Then we go to Athletic Committee.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we accept the recommendations of the athletic committee.
A second?
Second.
Roll call vote.
Thank you. Let's do a roll call vote, Mr. Secretary, please.
Before we do that comment, it gives you what you want, I believe, Mr. McGee, and that whatever the recommendations were, which were that we extend, we delay A and B, and we pass C. I think that's what everybody agreed with, and I'm happy. I'm only requesting.
You're correct, Mr. Clayton. Thank you for
I'm moving
clarifying.
again that
No
we
roll
accept.
call vote, Mr. Clayton.
Okay, thank you very much. All of those in favor, let on sign of aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, so have it. Next, we move to committee on facilities and planning.
Recommendation be approved.
There was no action. It was just a information. Yeah, we accept that report. Next is the finance committee.
Your Honor, Mr. Chairman, I move that we accept the recommendations of the Finance Committee actions item 5A through G.
Been properly moved and second. Are there any objections? All of those in favor, let it on the sign of aye.
Aye.
Opposed, so have it. Next, we go to Committee on Personnel Affairs. What's your pleasure?
Before that,
We want to take these individually,
yeah, because that's what I proposed earlier, sir.
just on personnel.
Okay, let's rock and roll. I move that we take them up individually, Mr. Chair.
Allow me an amendment to that substitute, that we eliminate, delay items 6 and 7.
Well, that wouldn't be inconsistent with his motion.
Let's move forward.
The idea is to go through each one of these individually, have a separate vote on those and go on. Should we do that? Is that what you intended?
I think it would be cleaner that way.
Okay. Chairman of the committee. All right, the first item action is A1. What is your pleasure?
Move to accept the recommendation of the committee.
Second?
Second.
Properly moved and second that we do so. Any opposition? Those in favor, let it know, sign of aye. Those opposed? So on it. The action items 2, 3, and 4.
So move to accept the recommendation of the committee.
Second.
Been properly moved and second that we accept the recommendation committee with respect to 2, 3, and 4. Any opposition? Those in favor, let it know, sign of aye. Those opposed? So have it. Action item 5. Your pleasure.
Motion. Accept.
Motion to accept. Second. Any opposition? Those in favor, let it be known, sign of aye. Those opposed? So have it. Action item 6.
We ask that that item be delayed 6 and 7.
There's a motion to delay 6 and 7. Is that a
6,
second?
7, and 8.
No, I want to comment on that.
We'd like to do.
6 and 7, let's, we got 8. 6 and 7.
Okay, let's, the motion is for 6 and 7 to be delayed. Okay. All right, any opposition? Those in favor, let it know, sign of aye. Okay, so 6 and 7 is deferred. Action item 8.
Comment on 8. I just had a conversation with the Federation president, and he enlightened me on this Kimberly Williams. And I just want you to collectively think about what he just said to me. And he can expound on it. I'll take a personal privilege if he wants to fill in the board. His comments to me were that, Tony, I don't know if the proper light was shown on this particular position. It's his position that, and I agree with him, that having these charter schools or these strike that, come up and say what you said. I'm trying to paraphrase what you told me, and hear him out and see what his position is.
Thank you, Mr. Clayton. With respect to the K-12 initiative, Mr. President, I know we had some discussions about it. I wanted to maybe add a little more information. And Mr. President, stop me at any point if I'm going in a different direction than I think was the intent of the K-12 initiative director. And as you know, the chairman appointed a committee to look into the expansion of laboratory schools, to expand our program from the success that we've enjoyed at our Baton Rouge campus to expand it to our New Orleans campus, our Shreveport campus, and even consider the possibility of boarding schools. One of the challenges with this initiative is, of course, is that it's been kind of a volunteer-driven effort. we're hoping to add some staffing to that, because what this could mean is the growth of an expansion of our entire K-12 program, not only on this campus, but on other campuses. It would create a revenue stream. It would certainly embolden and enhance our footprint in the K through 20 space that we've been trying to accomplish. And I think some of the discussions with the provost and the president was looking at a way that we might be able to accomplish that, and the creation of this K-12 initiative director was a way to, and a path to accomplish that. And I thought that that might be worthy of some additional discussion from the board in light of the creation of that particular committee by the chair that had operated for quite some time and was now looking to get back on track. And this might help that initiative as well.
Thank you, Mr. Castillo.
My question, I'll yield to the first. Okay, I just want to, if the board were to delay this for 30 days so that the president's office can give us a better picture of what's going on here, would that jeopardize, the school year would have begun, would that jeopardize your program as it relates to these laboratory schools?
No, sir. I think 30 days would certainly allow all to consider it. And if at the end of the day you decided not to go forward, that certainly is the prerogative of the board, but at least have an opportunity to discuss it a little bit further so that we can come back perhaps with more information, perhaps to help convince the board one way or another whether this is a direction that you'd like to go in.
Madam Speaker, will that put you at odds if they delay it 30 days and just, we can still vote it up or down, but as opposed to killing it?
Okay. I would just like to make a comment in regards to the K-12 initiatives. And I did serve on the K-12 committee for the state. And it is very much needed. We do realize that, and the board, if you don't mind, please hear me out. It is very much needed. We need to have a specified job description, and the job descriptions for this particular position does not need to be overlapped. So I think that it needs scrutinizing, it needs analyzing, nothing personal with anybody or nothing. It's for the betterment of Southern University and the system. So if we're gonna do it, I feel that we should do it, and we should clean it up and do it right. That's the, I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm just saying we should not overlap the positions.
I agree.
So, thank you for agreeing. Thank you for agreeing with me.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
We're continuing the status quo, is my understanding. That is my hope. Correct? We're continuing the status quo until we get a little more information, and then we're gonna make an ultimate decision. Is that right? Because as I understand it, she's working.
Tell me what you mean by continuing the status quo.
She is currently employed in this.
No.
Nobody. I don't know anything about anybody. So it's nothing personal.
It's available for her to start. She's gonna be.
This would be a new position.
Yeah.
So my motion would be in consideration what the gentle lady from Tangipahoa
My
said.
name is Ann Smith.
Ms. Smith
Yes,
from
thank you.
Tangipahoa. Hold on, Ms. Smith.
From Tangipahoa.
All right. In consideration of what Ms. Smith said, then I suggest that I'll make a motion that we delay it for 30 days and to contemplate the issues that she brought forward. And then we come back here, consider all the, I think, overlapping, however she put it, and then we'll come back and deal with it as a board. So let's just delay it for 30 days and revisit it.
Did we have a second to that motion?
Second.
Okay. It's been properly moved and seconded that we defer this matter until our next board meeting in August. Yes, sir.
I just, and any of these personnel items or finance items, as Board Member Smith alluded to, we need to make sure, when I'm asking the legal counsel in the president's office, that none of this conflicts with the executive order that's been out there. So if it gets to this board, I'd like to believe it's been certified by your office, Mr. President, to this board, and certainly in concert with our council, that it's not in conflict with the executive order.
Sure.
And we had one other problem. half of the things on this agenda were already on the agenda for last month, remember? And that was before the executive order was passed. So when we rescheduled the meeting, we just simply flipped over the agenda from the previous meeting without even going back to take a look at the impact of the executive order on that. So I think the comment is apropos. Yes.
My comment is similar. If we could have we have it in writing from the governor's office, we could have the council put it in more of a form so that everyone here can better understand it moving forward. Because if we have the same thing next month, I mean, we have to have positions that are available on this campus. We need these positions. And if we have to go through this every time, we get the personnel. This does not sit well with us. We will get through it though, but at least make sure we have clarification of it so that everybody, even the ones that are not here, so we don't do the same thing when it comes back next month. Okay?
Yeah, we'll make sure that's done. Now there's a motion on the floor, call for question. Is there a call for the question?
I call.
All of those in favor, let me know on the side of aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? We have it, it is so deferred. Okay, the other item now, have we dealt with B, C, and D? Can we just take care of personnel?
Accept the recommendation
of the
of the
committee,
committee, which would be to delay E and C and accept D.
Yes. Is that clear to everyone? Okay. We have moved second, properly moved in second. Any opposition? Those in favor, let it be known on the sign of aye. Those opposed? So have it. We're now to item 6 of the business, at the end of the business
No,
reports.
Mr. President, Chair, I move that we approve in global items C, D, E, and F. Mr. McGee was talking about personnel B, C, and D when that conversation went on earlier. So at this point, I move that we move in global items 5, C, D, E, and F.
Okay. E and F, yes. Okay, there's a motion on the floor to declare. No, I'm trying to carry forth the motion to clear up the last one was there because we left out E and F.
Correct.
Is that understood?
Yes.
All of those in favor, let it be known on the sign of aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay, so thank you very much, Mr. Clayton. And now we go to item other business, and there's an item missing, Mr.
Yes, resolution.
That's resolutions, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir. Resolutions for July 2016, Gregory M. Eckerson family. Mr. Eckerson was the brother of Susan Eckerson, field coordinator in the School of Social Work at Southern University at New Orleans. Mr. Eckerson passed away Friday, July 8th, 2016. The Tillman Howard family. Mr. Howard was formerly employed as assistant professor of sociology at Southern University of New Orleans and husband of Miss Irene C. Howard, a founding member of the Southern University of New Orleans faculty and administration. He passed away Wednesday, July 13th, 2016. The Kenneth Cook family. Mr. Cook is a retired faculty member of the School of Social Work at Southern University of New Orleans. He passed away Wednesday, July 20th, 2016. There are no further resolutions, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much, Mr. Secretary. And now we go to item 6, informational items, systems report. President.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I wanted to just, and I want to express my appreciation to you, particularly for endorsing the MOU between Southern University and the Mentorship Academy. As you may recall, at the last board meeting, Mr. Preston Castile, Attorney Preston Castile, gave you an overview of the opportunity that rests with establishing a site in downtown Baton Rouge. And that MOU, in effect, this MOU provides for that to move forward. So we appreciate that. I also want to highlight the MOU between Southern University System and the Louisiana Department of Public Safety and Corrections. I had the great pleasure of this week of engaging with the Secretary of Public Safety and Corrections on this week, accompanied by Dr. Shanika Jones, and members of the Department of Criminal Justice. And in so doing, we talked about making available to probably as many as 5,000 correction officers our online presence or establishing an online presence that would enable them to engage in coursework online, as well as provide for the Department of Criminal Justice the opportunity to engage in sensitivity training, diversity training for those correctional officers in that department. The other significant thing about that engagement is what we perceive to be the launch of our online infrastructure as supported by the Southern University in absence of any reliance on any third-party entity. Mr. Chair, I wanted to see if I could invite Dr. Jones to the podium just to offer some highlights of what this MOU pretends to present. I think it is significant, and it really has some implications as it relates to our enrollment going forth, as well as the degree to which we're moving forward in facilitating instruction online. Dr. Jones.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Mr. President, for those remarks. I guess many of you may know for about 5 years now, the Department of Criminal Justice has tried to build a presence with public safety and corrections. And very recently, the only Black warden to have ever served for the department has joined our academic department. And because of his relationship with Secretary LeBlanc, we were able to sit down and have a discussion about the needs of the department. As it turns out, the secretary has been tasked by the governor to do criminal justice reform. And he insisted that the best way to see that materializes is through academic programs with Southern University. And I don't want to forget anyone, but Ms. Hill, of course, has supported our initiative. And as it turns out right now, we have about 400 students in the queue to be enrolled and should be starting classes with us on August 15th, on August 15th. We have pledged to the president 1,000 students within this next calendar year. We have projected revenues in upwards of $9 million for the system. And so we're not coming to you at this point asking for anything in terms of any monies that we may need. I see Mr. McGee has stepped out, but when we return, we will return with a request that is mission critical in terms of growing our department. As we stand right now, it's only 5 of us. We have 700 on-site students. And many of you may know, we rival colleges in our enrollment, retention, and graduation rates. We pledge to do even more of that with our online presence. So as we move forward, we will certainly need this board's support. And we ask that you, those of you who have an interest in criminal justice reform and want to speak to some of the issues that are taking place both locally and nationally, we invite you to participate in our forums in the department.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Any questions of Dr. Jones? Let me compliment you and the department staff and all who participated in bringing this possibility to the university. The potential is enormous, and to serve as a role model, because there are other areas of the university that we can grow using the materials, the know-how, the skill set of our faculty, other faculties throughout the university.
Yes,
so we'll be watching that closely to see what other potentials we can actualize as we move along. And thank you so very much for your leadership.
Thank you.
Yes, and also wanted to just share with you that on this week, the IT department, or Information Technology, facilitated a summit that has been ongoing for the last couple of days. The summit invited representatives from each of the campuses across the system. And of course, the aim was to identify infrastructure that would help move Southern University forward in this 21st century. So I understand that much was accomplished during that summit, and I hope the outcomes of that, or we anticipate the outcomes of that, will be felt across the campuses of the Southern University system. Finally, I was going to ask, or I wanted to make the announcement. I think you have been made aware that I think over the last couple of weeks, or within the last couple of weeks, the HBCU Digest, in effect, there was a convening of HBCUs across the country in Washington, D.C., where the HBCU Digest, in effect, entertained the nominations of a number of individuals and departments. I think as many as 9, where they sought acknowledgement, or sought to acknowledge those HBCUs. In Southern University, of the 9 nominations, Southern University left Washington, D.C., having secured 4 awards. And those awards include a recognition of the Southern University Marching Band as the best marching band of the year. Dr. Stephen McGuire as the male faculty member of the year. The LEGO Research Project or Center was gleaned as the best research center of the year. And Devon Gales was considered the best student athlete of the year. So again, Southern University received accolades of the 9 nominations that reflected excellence amongst the HBCU community. Southern University was acknowledged with 4. If you would indulge me, I think they won a round of applause for their. Thank you, Mr. Chair and members. That concludes my report.
Thank you very much, President. Now it's time for our campus reports, and we will begin with the campus sit-down.
Good afternoon. Our campus report is enclosed within the board packet. I would like to add that this past week we had over 400 youth from around the state of Louisiana and the Louisiana Baptist encampment program, which may ultimately in the future lead to increased enrollment.
Thank you very much.
Good morning, report. The Shreveport Suffolk's report is enclosed in the board packet. I would like to acknowledge and invite board members and everyone in the room today to an event that the Suffolk campus and Suffolk Foundation will host on Friday, September 2nd. It's an official celebration of Dr. Belton's tenure as Suffolk Chancellor for 15 years, and will acknowledge his service over the past 15 years. It also serves as an official pregame event for the first football game that will be held in Monroe. It also, in addition to those 2 things, will serve as an official fundraiser as we establish a student scholarship in Dr. Belton's name. We have already had a commitment of $30,000 in private monies, which will be matched by some endowment state funds to bring it up to 60,000. And we hope to, at that particular event, raise an additional 30 to 40 to be able to establish this initial student scholarship in his name for $100,000 to start the corpus.
Thank you very much. We pass it on to our ex-chancellor.
Good afternoon. You have received our report. May I ask you, Mr. Chair, would you request require the medical marijuana report, or should we delay it as well?
Well, you can simply give us a simple overview of where we are at this moment.
Thank you, sir. What I would ask the individuals to do is hand out this medical marijuana 101. In light of much of the discussions that have gone on and the inquiries that we get from throughout the state of Louisiana, the Ag Center took the initiative to develop what we would call an infographic. The infographic is just a 101 of what medical marijuana is about, what the Bill Act 96 provides. What we're finding is that farmers, producers all over the state are calling us and asking us when can we certify their land so that they can start growing medical marijuana. So we thought it was important that we put this together to talk about who is in and who is out. So this provides an opportunity to say that legal marijuana is in the state of Louisiana. It will be grown by the Louisiana State University Agricultural Research Center and Southern University Ag Center. And what are the components? And so it just provides an overview. And I would encourage you to take a look at this. And if you have constituents who are asking questions about it, please share this with them, because I think it gives a pretty good comprehensive of who's in and who's out. In addition to that being a piece that I wanted to share with you, we've spent the last year looking and trying to understand this industry in an in-depth way so that we can understand what does it mean to create a new industry. Medical marijuana, be no doubt about it, is a brand new industry and an emerging industry that comes with a lot of opportunity, but also a lot of pitfalls and dangers. And so as we navigate these treacherous waters, we wanted to make certain that we understand very clearly what we're dealing with. And so to that end, we have done some work that I want to highlight two activities today. One activity, we sent a team to Oakland, California to attend the National Cannabis Business Summit. Why did we go there and what did we glean from being there? That was an event, a summit that brought in over 1,000 participants in the national scene dealing with marijuana, period. And it had over 50 seminars and workshops, and it had at least 300 vendors. So that gave us an opportunity to attend workshops dealing with the federal and state regulations as it relates to what is and what is not. A good picture of what the production practices and what's the lay of the land as it deal with cultural practices, and also facilities and extraction. The piece that was rather refreshing in dealing with this is began the opportunity to talk to the medical community, understanding the difference in opportunities as to grow this industry in a medical perspective between pain mediation and really true cure. So we left that and we came back home and we gathered ourselves, talked to the Department of Agriculture and Forestry, who's now formulating the rules that will govern the game for which we're about to play, and say, what are you doing and what have you done? And so to that end, we assembled a team and tracked where they had been, and that dawned to Colorado. So Southern University decided we will go to Colorado. The president, Belton, went with us, Mr. Preston Castile, Mr. Al Harrell, and 3 individuals from Southern University Ag Center went together. And that visit was intended to understand clearly what is the market structure, what is the market opportunity for this. We talked to some economists because we need to understand that there are 4.6 million people in Louisiana and there are 9 disease states. How does that impact and roll up into revenue and number of patient counts? So we talked to some economists, looked at the history trend data from throughout the United States with the various people, talked to the economists, got a better feel for that. Once we move from that, then it's how do we scale up appropriately, build the right facilities, get the right labor, make the right investments so that we can move this business forward. To that degree, we talked to some facility planners, we talked to some people who understand the scale process. From there, it really was important that we understand and see firsthand what an operation looked like. And so to that degree, we looked at two operations, one big, one small. We're talking from seed to sale. We're talking about putting the plant in the bucket, growing the plant out, harvesting the buds, crushing the buds into oils, taking the oils and transferring it into medicine, and then getting medicine out the door. And so to that end, we talked to two CEOs, their entire staff. We spent an enormous amount of time just discussing that issue, talking to the pros and cons, and then beginning to overlay their discussions with what is happening in the state of Louisiana, especially as it relates to what the pharmacy board is doing, what the medical board is doing, and what ag is doing as it formulates rules, because we need to understand the rules and the best practices so that we can influence the rules to make certain they work the way we want them to work. And so that having taken place, we're back now looking at what are our steps going forward. And it appears on our best discussion that our steps going forward are threefold. One, we've got to be clear, as definitive as possible, with as reliable data as possible. What is the size of the market? Because that's critically important. We've heard that there's 22,000 patients, that there are millions of dollars to be made. On the downside, we've heard that it's a break-even endeavor, and we need to move very cautiously as this movement moves. So therein lies one of our challenges and one of our opportunities. The second one is really about how do you build the right firewalls, ensure that the university is protected and all the personnel that are involved in this endeavor are protected. And so that, because I'm pretty much averse to doing prison time. And so to that degree, we want to make certain that we get this right. And so we need to make certain that we put the right legal structure, the right firewall in place to protect the university and protect all our personnel. And then secondly, we need to make certain that as we get and understand the market structure, then we need to begin to figure how do we solicit through RFQs or RFAs, RFPs, who it is that would do the work that we do. And how do we develop partners? To that degree, Mr. President, you had an opportunity to visit with us and go with us.
Yeah, I would just simply echo some of the comments of Dr. Brown and give indication that I think we have a great team who's really trying to engage in sufficient due diligence that would provide for this board the opportunity of making a informed decision as to how we structure and how we move our agenda forward as relates to the established aim to serve as a cultivator and a processor for medical marijuana. And so we anticipate having ongoing discussions with this board going forward in light of our aim to ultimately provide for this board some options that they may well consider.
Thank you, Mr. President. To the law school.
Good afternoon. Thank you again. You have the report of the Law Center. I just wanted to add a couple of quick things. The Southern University Law Center, several Southern University Law Center students have had the benefit of attending and working both the Republican National Convention and the Democratic National Convention because of resources and opportunities provided to us by the Thurgood Marshall College Fund. And given the this being an important election year, we thought it was important for our students to get that opportunity. And we're happy to announce that those students took advantage of those opportunities provided by Thurgood Marshall. And Thurgood Marshall has been a very good partner to the Southern University Law Center and the Southern University system. And I wanted to acknowledge them for providing a number of different avenues and resources to us and furthering the mission of the Southern University Law Center and the Southern University system.
Thank you very much. Welcome to campus.
Good afternoon, and thank you again.
Can we turn the mic up, please?
Or you can stand up, Doctor. Stand up.
Right here. Right here. That might be that.
Yes, sir, I will gladly stand. Good afternoon, and thank you again. The campus report for the Baton Rouge campus is in your packet. I would like to highlight 4 items. 5 of our Dolores Margaret Richard Spikes Honors College students participated in a study abroad program in Belize this past summer. A senior in mass communications, Ms. Snyder Bray, received a $5,000 scholarship to participate in the National Association of Black Journalists Convention. Our Human Jukebox will perform at the end of this month in Charlotte, North Carolina, at the McDonald Queen City, I don't remember the exact name, but it's the McDonald's Queen City Band performance. And last but not least, we had about 200 youth on campus over the last week participating in the Greater Louisiana Baptist Convention Youth Empowerment Retreat. And we hope that a good number of those students will choose Southern University. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That concludes our campus reports. Anything else, Mr. President?
No, we have nothing further, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Having no other business before us, can I get a motion to adjourn? Thank you very much. We'll see you all meeting next month. Meeting free.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
So what you got going
You gotta find resources everywhere and anywhere.
criminal justice stuff. So once we get back
Absolutely.